Okay, so Capricorn women only.
Capricorn women only. This is a trend in my lifetime. Um, I'm curious. What is your reading on this situation?
Yeah, so the Capricorn woman being phallic, I think, is different though. It's not like necessarily. I think it's similar because I like Taurus women. I like women that are Taurus, so it might have to do with that material element. Um, Both are likely to be more involved with their body. Um, but I also like Aries. I think Aries and Taurus provide the most, some of the most passionate. So Earth and Fire provide the most passionate signs, in my view.
Hmm. All right. Well, today I had another thing. I feel like we should concept out on stream. I want to like start the practice of more meaningful mimetic behavior, and almost giving like a takeaway, whether that be like a test run of all of us commenting an emoji on one thing,
Mm,
or maybe some sort of action we can all like
mm,
put into a daily routine to
mm.
to push energy somewhere. I'm like hearing a something's picking up my voice. I don't know what that is.
I don't know. I have headphones in and all.
I'm gonna look around on my computer to see if do you have like the stream open in another thing?
No, I don't. No.
All right. Well, someone said Mossad in chat, and yes, this
Yeah,
is.
I gotta block them so that we can't have any. We can't get political words like immediately dropping the view count. It's the way it's got to be.
Uh,
Um, but no, we'll talk a bit about the what's it called. I have no idea key lime pie. It's just what they decided to do. But here's an interesting thing. So I put a meme up with my stream announcement, and it was a woman who had dropped a her boyfriend's Lego Millennium Falcon set, and I like the split of the commenters who are like, this is soy, like you have to be soy to care about this, but alternatively, there was like, this is the end point. I would shoot this woman. Like I thought it was good. We get like, it's like, do you hate consumerism or do you hate women more? Which are we? Which choice are you going to make today? Um, yes.
I this makes me think of a concept I've been mulling over a lot, and it could be some different micro projects for maybe testing out theories on how the wider like digital media landscape is set up. But you create these kind of catch-22 situations, which basically like pit you into having to make an emotional response, or pit two facets of the internet against each
Mm.
other. So
Double
it's like,
Jeopardy. I love. Oh, that's a wonderful idea. Um, Good question. Good question. Any thoughts on poggers? I think that's one of the worst memes, because I know or I have met people that say it in real life, and it's like this disgusting, this intrinsic disgust that I have for people who like say memes in real life. Obviously, that's like kind of the channel. The channel is like memes in real life, but I am trying to destroy them. Um, it's bizarre to see people speak in memes. Um,
I have a nice talking point that I think it could spawn some interesting discussions in my endeavors inside of the general world of studying, kind of like the online id. I found a website that I don't think has really broken into the mainstream yet, but is fairly popular, called whatsyourprice.com. It is a allegedly a dating site, but the premise is in your area, if you are an attractive person, you can set a price that people can pay you to go on a date with them. And there's like an underlying implication that might suggest it says it's not an escorting website, but uh, there is certainly like a layer of it that has maybe an implication of something to come out of the date. But
I'm gonna start my profile. I'm going to get my money's worth.
I'm curious what you think of. I know a lot of. So I'll play the advocate, or I'll play like the role. I'm not an MRA, but like I'll emanate some of their talking points about the sexual marketplace and all this stuff. What do you think about maybe what it's like to date on these websites, and what this particular iteration of just like a mask off, like you can pay for your hot Tinder date to come come over.
I do not support online dating. I think online dating is really dangerous. You know, there was a point made. I forget what. Oh, it was Logo. It was Logo who made this point. Also, I hear a bit of reverberation on your mic. But either way, he made the point. I don't know if this is true, but I'm going to act as if it is true for this discourse, because to me it is symbolically true, which is essentially that Tinder was made by and for homosexual men. So it was built on scopophilic premises.
Mm-hmm.
And so women that use it are like becoming scopophilic, which is why it is dissatisfying. It's not like they're like, oh, the blah, 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 the marketplace value. Like, no, it's really it's a process of becoming masculine, of literally gaining. You know, they've talked about the male gaze.
Mm-hmm.
This implies that the male is the gazer. It is not the feminine gaze does not exist in the same way that the male gaze exists, and so women that are using Tinder and using online dating sites are literally they're becoming masculine in that way. They're gaining the male gaze. So that is why when you apply this, like, I guess the very cruel, bizarre, cold vision of incel and red pill is applying to women as men.
Mm-hmm.
Scopophilia is attraction based on sight. Visual attraction, which is a masculine trait.
I have a premise then that we can maybe build off of this. I think someone should make a dating app that is one. You know, we talked about like almost a Randonautica version of it, which is using like elaborate psychological and zodiac oriented profiles on people and matching them through those means. The other idea is like, and this is like kind of like the basis of a lot of futurism, but it's like as we immerse more senses into technology, like it's an olfactory dating app where it's a lot of attraction is initially like there's this there's this shit where it's like when you first kiss someone, there's an exchange of chemicals that can basically elicit. If you have this like protein pairing, it can elicit an enormous amount of attraction, or it can be the moment of this isn't going to work out. Same thing with like partners tend to be very drawn to each other's smells. They can smell things that would typically be associated with disgust, yet it elicits a lot more attraction. So maybe trying to concept out an app that almost eliminates the scopophilic tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
The other would be a Bumble is it's
women
like
based, right?
Yeah. It is and it isn't, in the sense that has a slight modifications, but I see that instance as more of like in the Silicon Valley space, like they often by proxy of like idpol will champion female founders, even if it's still it doesn't necessarily take any feminist values into the company, because Bumble is disputably against women in certain respects.
I think the app could be called Blind Date, but still, I don't think that attests still to what is sexual. I still think online dating in general is a not great thing. I think that the best way is meeting people in communities. I think that's really the only vital way of finding partners in general. But there was a question that somebody had that I thought was worth talking about. It was what about sexual signs, stimuli, how to resist scopophilic temptations from women, like cleavages, legs, and such, and how to concentrate on the whole person of the GF. That's not, you can't do that. But what I did want to say is that the fact that women and men wear clothing in a very different way, and that makeup and fashion are something generally referred to as feminine, and that men who look good are generally, or who put attention to their physical dress, are generally considered homosexual. That in itself is proof of the scopophilic divide, where women cater to the male gaze and homosexuals cater to the male gaze, but dudes don't do that. I think that is, and that in itself shows what Freud is talking about. But what's it called? Communities. Blind Date as our app. So maybe what oh fuck. You ready for something really awful and disgusting, but it goes with that? For that olfactory dating, you like take samples of sweat, and they like get it in a kit, and you get like, I was interested in talking to like 5 people. You had conversed with them and said like, I want to talk to them, like Tinder, but it's like elongated. And then they send you their sweat, and it's like, okay, this one. And you meet up, and immediately you're already in love because you'd already taken in the sweat. And so let's
take it a level farther and have it be like a really expensive paid service where we orchestrate a meet cute moment. So we like basically trace out what their lives are and try to organically force them into proximity and make interaction. This is the only way we can truthfully capture the rom-com fantasy.
Well, yeah, I was going to say it is like participating in a rom-com. We will make this happen. That would be really funny. That's the future. The future is these kind of, ARGs taking over every aspect of reality. There's not going to be any reality left that is not a game.
It's, an idea we've talked about on the podcast that I'm planning to talk about in a video I do is like this commodification of narrative, specifically in relation to conspiracy. But I do think as we start to realize like you can like most meaningful human experience to people is like a regurgitation of interactions with the same archetypes that tell these very circular stories. If we can realize how we can implant that into someone's life, you can make the ultimate entertainment. You can make people fall in love. You can, simulate that like movie like interaction where you're just swept off your feet and you're going from place to place. And
that is again what the future is going to look like. These
I guess for
manufactured
rich people,
narratives.
though, right? I mean,
well,
no.
Have you read Brave New World?
There's rungs of the narrative, though, I guess, in Brave New World, like
exactly.
The epsilon.
The top people will have these brilliant archetypal romances. The bottom people will have their own form of romance.
If there's one author I've actually read, it's Aldous Huxley, because I was an edgy high schooler who was like, fuck George Orwell. Aldous Huxley is so much cooler.
Crowley is the one who got him into mescaline and LSD.
Just fucked him up for good. Like,
yeah,
more meaningful. I like The Doors of Perception, and I like a lot of his work. But I will say, like, aspects of that were pretty. I don't think he was necessarily punching to do anything that meaningful, but he certainly has like existed in kind of like a Timothy Leary light, where it's just like, cool, yeah, drugs, man.
Well, that's the same as Crowley. Crowley paid the same price. Like everybody is like just entirely like, oh man, he did drugs and he was a weird occultist dude. It's miserable, but you know what? He's popular, so it worked, and it was worth it because he is not forgotten like other magicians. So I don't know, whatever it takes to get remembered. That was this is something I want to talk about, because I always talk about the genetic memetic reproduction, and Hubbard was somebody acutely aware of this, and he said, if I can have it, if I, my only goal, if I can get one thing done, it's that when every other human name has been forgotten, I want to be remembered. I want my name to last forever and to make it past humanity. And I think that is the message of mimetic reproduction. Like I don't think his kids will even. In fact, his kids already don't carry his name. They don't go by Hubbard. I don't think so. He lost, or to some extent will eventually lose, genetic reproduction. A video that actually exemplifies this. I don't know if you are a fan of like any YouTube animation, but there is the video "End of an Era" by Umami, and it is like an old like Edwardian woman who has made soup, and the soup animates itself and says like in you know in another few hundred years your ancestor, or your I guess your future child, your future grandchildren, will develop an addiction to something called the World Wide Web, failing to find a partner and ending your bloodline that had lasted from the beginning of time. But the recipe of soup that you created, I will last until the end of humanity. Campbell's soup will be remembered forever, long after your children have died. And that is what mimetic reproduction is. It's, can my name, can my image, can my idea outlive my body in a way that my children might not make it forever?
I would I guess when I think of like mimetic reproduction, one connotation I might see is like the we are these I think it's Dawkins says like meme machines, like we absorb and transmit, and it is like that process of carrying like the host of a meme and continuing to push it out. I think what that story says to me is like the best memes, the best like units of culture tend not to be people in a sense. Like I'd say like Yahweh or fucking any word for that is a very compelling meme, and I can see that contending, but it's almost like it's pulling from one of the higher concepts. It feels like the fault of man to imagine like the ego as continuing on, unless it's like you're
I think
Horus.
The point that I would make to that is like Yahweh is like Yod How fuck Yahweh. I think it's Yod How. I think it's just like YHYH or something. Jehovah, and then there's Jehovah, there's Yahweh, there's Inri. These are names, but they're magical formula as well in Kabbalah. Like the Jews, when they say Jehovah or when they say Yahweh, they don't mean like just that as a name that has a lot of significance, which in itself is a meme. It's a single thing that carries a lot of information. So it's important to consider like an ego without that information in it will be worthless. Like Crowley, his ego reduced to weird, druggy, mystical man. But if you actually get into it, he carries extremely potent information. Just as Jehovah is not just the name of God, it means a lot more.
That's what I'm trying to elicit, and like it's almost like a concept that is universal in human experience, and the word, how it like manifests from concept into like guttural fucking vocal flap sound is like a process of articulation, but that concept is the meme in my mind. And I think for if we have someone in the audience who is seeking the highest degree of like mimetic, it actually being in the gene, you have to become the archetype in a sense. Like I don't think we can code down to the bottom unless we get like fucking really advanced. Maybe that's Elon's arc. Someone actually said, I want to quickly touch on this. Someone said Kanye understands meme culture earlier, and my thought on that is I tweeted earlier today that it was Kanye walked so Trump could run. Like if we're to trace back like the cultural power of, because everyone's like oh, now AOC is just copying Trump. Everyone's blah, 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 copying blah, 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 blah. I'd say like one of the first to really play the internet at its like max efficiency is Kanye. And there's probably people before who are doing it better, but no idea is really original.
I think that his, I think his arc, and I think that this is like a really important thing, is to be a producer before you're an artist.
Mm-hmm.
He established an understanding of his medium before he went into it, which I think is very important.
Mm-hmm. I'd
Warhol.
say Frank Ocean's another one who's just like that, where he was ghostwriting for a very long time before, like he was Beyonce, he was all of these people in their height before he was who he is.
Andy Warhol, he was an artist for advertisements. He drew shoes. He was very good at women's shoes. He was the best shoe artist in New York, and then he made his own work. We got the question from Amorius, which is how do you create impactful art? What makes impactful art? You look at a lot of art, you witness others' creative processes, and yes, hello, Art Fluids. I've been thinking about you. I was going to message you soon. But yes, I think that establishing oneself in the process and then utilizing that process is the key.
I saw a comment in here about the impotence of leftists, which makes me laugh every time I see it. I think this is maybe an aim of some of the work we're hoping to do is applying memetics in the effort of formulating new political projects, or at least updating some of the warfare used by the current ones. Because I really feel if you are to like strictly adhere to what some of these communities end up outputting, you are going to like never endingly kind of eat yourself. And it's like a circularity that's really hard to deny if you're someone who wants to very earnestly look at how like action gets immediately like fed back into this spiral of like what I would consider an impotent ideology if it's not like birthing the purpose it's aiming to achieve.
Thank you, Godly Holistic. I was reading the New York Times today, and I was just struck with how horrible it is. And it's really amazing because I was reading these anti-hit pieces on Joe Biden, and so I was taking that, and then I read Zero Hedge a lot as well. That's of the written work, I read a lot of Zero Hedge and Times, and then I compare them. And so the Times was like, Joe Biden is the spirit of America. He is the only one who can unify against this narcissistic sociopath. And then Zero Hedge is like, Joe Biden, his cognitive decline is so deep that the Democratic Party is already planning on pulling him out and instilling their own choice for nominee. And it's like, I love it. I love, and yet again, you read the comments of any political piece, of any ad, or any video, and you know what you see? You see people denying what there is like actual evidence of at every single point. And they say, these are deep fakes. In fact, I think that deep fake science is probably way less advanced than the media treats it. And that the very idea of deep fake is a meme to be used against any video that they don't like. Like, I'm sure that when the second coming happens, there will be people who are like, this is Project Bluebeam. This is a manufactured thing, when people are like flying up and stuff.
Yeah. It's like tools that are given to basically, this is the most common fucking talking point for anyone who's at all critical at the moment, like the democratization of truth. There's all sorts of narratives and people are propagating them and kind of constructing them in a manner that is compelling, yet it might not be grounded in factuality, but it has the lens of like, this feels like real life. I guess there's tools being given that are basically like the defense mechanisms of a mind trying to protect its own kind of like ego in a sense. I don't know if I'm using the Freudian terms correctly, to be honest, but like to me, deep fakes, to me, bots, like bots are another one where it's like, oh, this must be Russian bots. You know, there's no way this can be anything else. There's no way someone can genuinely think what I'm saying is wrong. What the last thing I'll say about deepfakes though is like, I know this. I'm not that technically able of a human being. I'd consider myself like level 3 out of 10, but I know a kid who is doing PhD computer science research in fucking California somewhere, and he is a like deep fakes. That's what he's focusing on. And we had talked a while ago about like the advent of like deep fake porn, because I feel like that's going to be a super lucrative industry, because there's people with deep pockets who are like, hey, put my ex-girlfriend's dad on this guy, blah 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 blah, or put blank social media influencer. And the tech is definitely I think it's compelling. There's certainly issues, and I think anyone who's like looking closely will be able to spot, the fucking things on the edge of the face. But it's definitely not where they claim it to be when they're acting as if you could just like, you can go look up these fucking Biden things. These are on his like rally schedule, obviously.
It's unbelievable. It's wonderful though. It's a great thing. I love how soft the truth has become. Like, for the people who are desperately at least giving lip service to the truth and to facts, they engage in the same exact things. They don't actually fucking believe anything. They don't think it's actually objective truth. That's a useful talking point. Oh, but I don't know if I talked about this in the last one, but this is a really important idea anyway. People that believe in nationalism and Nazism and communism are falling for a meme. They're falling for an idea that the Nazi elite, the communist elite, knew was not a thing. They knew it was propaganda. They knew it was a mobilization technique, an ideology that could inspire people, but it was not real. The reality has always been bureaucracy. The reality has always been the mundane forms of power. The question is just a group of people wanting power and needing to mobilize people to facilitate their rise. So when we have a lot of people who are like into communism and into Nazism, but only on the aesthetic, theoretical level, they are operating just like furries do. Furries, they're not trying to be animals. They are trying to be the depiction of animals in cartoons, in the same way that the modern interpretation of old politics is a interpretation of their kind of comical, dumb form.
One note I'll also add to maybe if we're to talk about like political realism that maybe underlies like performative kind of like ideologue behavior is Jonathan Haidt. He's like an IDW guy who does research on like personality proclivities in people who align with different ideologies, or like, I'm more left leaning or more right leaning. And when you look at that and just see that like in most countries, half of the populace tends to lean one way or the other, and it's typically a measure of like your conscientiousness, your openness, how agreeable you are. That really strips away some of, it's cool when you tell me to read theory 1,000 times, but most of the time, most people's participation in these systems are simply just due to like what you are going to tend to lean towards in terms of like ideas and explaining things. It really strips away some of the the layers of what I think people think motivates behavior. It's all maybe a little more dire.
Yeah, that was actually one of the few things from Peterson that I found to be actually pretty good, was his thoughts on disgust sensitivity. I thought his thoughts on disgust sensitivity related to fascism were very convincing, very fascinating. Just the idea that, like, the people who have this high disgust sensitivity like to think about the nation as a body, and whatever the villain of the day is a germ, an infection. It is not it is so it operates on a level of like, I want to be clean. And he mentioned like Hitler bathed like 5 times a day, which I can believe. So I think that that's a very fascinating thing in itself. So, I don't agree with much of his. In fact, I think his big problem was his anima. I think he did not grasp his anima, which is one of the key parts of the Jungian individuation process. So I think his understanding and his treatment of women and his discourse is the one of the black marks, but a definite one. Is the sovereign individual Ragnar Redbeard key lime pie? Otherwise, I have not. But what I will say, I love G.K. Chesterton. I think Chesterton is really wonderful. But on the Crowley has the great quote: "The individual is autark. The state, the family, the clan count for nothing." And I think that is very true. Omar, I had the video out, watched my video on the return to monkey. How do you get in touch with that part of yourself, though? You look at how you think and how you are attracted to women, and then you take that and you take the woman out of it, because the woman is merely a vessel. The feelings are directed toward your anima. It is directed towards a part of yourself of which you are unconscious, because you project it into the people, into pornography. So, when people hate women, they don't actually hate other people. They hate the feminine aspect of themselves. So I thought, yeah, Chesterton is really good, and I would highly suggest just like a list of his essays. I haven't really read any of his books. I've read his essays. Psychiatrist, anything doesn't create profit. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty anti-psychiatry, honestly. Like, I don't believe in medication or anything, and I think that to a large extent. Also, hello, Clay. Thank you for coming in. What's it called? To Whiskey Tango Niner. Did you know that the Big Bang was created by a Catholic priest? It was created by a monk. Also, all these scientists who are into this cosmology are generally religious. Dennis, man, I've been thinking about doing a full video, a full series, perhaps, on Chris Chan and on people who are internet-based lolcows and individuals.
I think the great work will be the story of the internet, providing
which we cannot talk about yet, but it's coming.
Cease. What's a recent happening? I guess we have obviously the presidential pick, but politics is quite boring.
Okay, all right.
Do you have a hot take on that, though?
No, nothing really important.
Maybe one interesting thing.
Okay, you go.
Yeah, I'll go with this first, and maybe they'll connect. I have a feeling when ideas tend to emerge at similar times, there's at least an interconnected nature. But I am hearing a lot of like doomsday talk from quite a few different people. And my fucking camera just went out of relating to kind of like some of the Trump US PS stuff and the threat of secession. And this seems like I see I'm a futurist, if I'm anything. I believe in nothing. Chris and I are actually arch enemies, and I'm writing on my list everything I'm going to do to him when he says anti-psychiatry things. No, I see murmurs of secession talk, of like radical political change on the horizon, and it's really quite fascinating because if there is a time, it feels now more than ever, especially if the COVID kind of psychological project continues up through the election, because I genuinely think we are really able to accept more, if we've been lulled into a sort of hypnotic state to accept a lot of different odd things happening around us. We are ready.
So in that case, to go with what Artfluids just said, then you're a schizo. The fact that you are already sensing it. He said, Deleuze entertained the idea that schizos were just sensitive to the future. And I think that's very true. And I think that that is why people who are able to even think about what's going to happen next are already entering into that realm of magic. So, but what I will say is that the coming radical political changes are not going to be permanent, but what we are going to enter is a period of absolute political chaos. Like the vision that I had of the future maybe 5 years ago was one of, wars being fought over the course of 5 minutes, stars rising and falling and making billions of dollars in the course of a day, and so on, that all of these things will happen at such a accelerated level, which yet again, I don't know if I've talked about this bit of my mythology, but like what we are at now and what we are going to accelerate is similar to the pre-Islamic culture of Arabian countries, which is where there are many jinn, there are many little gods that the merchants all worship at the Mecca. Like there are thousands of gods. And it's chaos, of course. There's no unifying idea, there's no unifying morality and such. And so Muhammad comes and brings the word of one God. And I think that that is what the aim of all of these memes are. I think it is to instill the one beautiful meme. That one beautiful meme will arise from this absolute chaos. These billion abortions a day.
This sounds very like Landian. Also on the schizo note, I have theories on this. This is my field of study. If I'm to like attribute any like empirical reality to anything I talk about, I do cognitive science and take an enormous amount of like neuroscience and psychology courses. And I have if I were to ever pursue higher education, I think ambidextry, schizophrenia, and like cross laterality is one of the most untouched areas that they've really intentionally like fucked with, because the first thing you will hear if you're in any sort of higher thinking brain class is like, oh, cross laterality has no founding, even though there is very definite like allocation of skill sets. And yes, it's more there's a lot going on between each other, but there's a reason the Wernicke's area is on a particular side of the brain. There's a reason in so much symbology throughout all human history, we allocate particular eyes to particular things. But I am like ambidextrous and have a lot of skill sets allocated across, and tend to have like a very aggressive pro and counter dialogue. So if I were to say, I would associate that with like what I have heard of certain modes of schizo thinking. But
something that I'll say on schizophrenia, if you don't mind. The idea that it is a sensitivity to the future is profound, and but what Nick Land talks about is that schizos have arrived. They are people who are arriving from the future. They are agents of futures that are trying to facilitate their own creation. So what this speaks to, though, is what Jung realized and what very few others have delved into, unfortunately, which is that the unconscious, the collective unconscious, is relative. That just as the past experiences are relative and continuously effective, the trauma induced as a child is just as raw today as it was then. But the thing is that the same goes for the future. It's just sometimes a bit more difficult to glean. But in the case of a schizophrenic whose personality is fractured, parts of their personality live in their past. Parts of their personality live in their future. Or rather, not personality, that's the wrong term. Parts of their psyche exist in the future. Parts of their psyche exist in the past. They are fractured across the unconscious. It is not merely an ego fracture. It is not it is a compound fracture, to put it that way. So I would say that is the important idea. So, but it does not. You don't need to be schizophrenic to glean the future through dreams, through divination and such. These still access that aspect of the collective unconscious.
Someone asked if there's an email to contact you regarding tarot readings.
I would say just Instagram, DM me on Instagram, but with the head it with interested in tarot cards, and I'll get back to you. I think what else? This is a good one though. I think we're hitting some good stuff on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I was very out of it the last episode. I'm not quite sure why. Um, oh, here's one. Here's one, and we talked about this on our podcast. Midnight Magazine said, "I wonder if 2012 actually was some kind of psychic nexus point." And I do think that that's very important. Like I talked about this in the Mandela Effect video, where people are very desperate for the world to end and to be living in an illusion. So the idea that 2012 was the end is a popular one. A lot of people often say, like, yeah, the world really did end, or that 2016 the world really did end. People desperately want the world to be false. This is the very root of the majority of religions. They want the world to be an illusion. What did you? Internet-induced autism. Yes, I think that is going to. That's the key. That's the double meaning of the podcast title. Meme Intelligence Agency is also media-induced autism, which is a joke in itself on Maya, the spinning woman of illusions from Buddhist tradition. But I will go in depth on Maya in my narrative of the internet. Art Fluids, I think you even know that. I think because I want to involve you in that one. This is going to be the big project. This is going to not just be a YouTube video. This is going to be my series, the culmination of the channel. The culmination of my channel is going to be this. I will say nothing else. I'm gonna make a vid about Crossland. Did you? You haven't finished Twin Peaks, have you? Right?
I have not. No. I should. Okay. I tried to find actually. But, I was trying to watch Fire Walk with Me, and I kept getting. There's like two versions. One is a deleted scenes, and for some reason, everywhere I was legally looking to procure it would only show me the deleted scenes one, and it was like really frustrating because I finally found one version that had the actual content in it. Like none of the servers were functioning, but
that's odd. But so you know Dr. Jacoby.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he wears 3D glasses, is cross laterality. Because he thinks that it allows you to like reverse it, to like to intermingle and to gain access to other elements of the brain. It's really fascinating. Cooper is the magician who longs to see in between the two worlds.
Is this Bill Cooper? Or is this Cooper?
This is a DB Cooper. Mm-hmm. This is DB who hijacked the plane and landed in Washington or Oregon. What is my favorite movie? One of my favorite movies, this is an odd one, is the Rocky Horror Picture Show, without a doubt. But also, I would say closely is Yankee Doodle Dandy with James Cagney. I'm a big fan of musicals. I really enjoy old-fashioned films. And the thing I like about Cagney the most, because I used to be an actor, I guess I still act to some extent, but Cagney I liked because he could go from tap dancing, to being one of the best gangsters ever. You know, he can go from dancing to shooting very well. I'm happy that everybody is watching Crumb. It is so good. Everybody should watch Crumb. Everybody should watch Crumb. Yes, Clay. We will watch it. Let me know what days work for you, and we'll give it a watch. I'm curious about Chris's religious beliefs too. I talk about Aleister Crowley, magic, what aspects of paganism, what aspects of Taoism I draw from. I'm pretty regularly religious. Crumb, Clay, is a documentary about the cartoonist R. Crumb. That's no, Art Fluids. That's a wonderful choice. The Fifth Element is awesome. You know why? Because Mobius is one of the greatest artists of our generation.
Someone asked if they can DM me. Yes, I just am pretty distant at the moment. I'm undergoing a grand spiritual transformation that will conclude in about a month. So I can't promise to reply to anything regularly, at least. This feels like the pause in which I want to. I said this at the beginning, but I feel like we have the core watchers at the moment. We're trying to concept out this notion of meaningful memetic action, or if we are all to project intent into a sort of symbolic gesture, the transmission of a meme, we are thinking we can start to kind of like wield some of the forces that exist within, particularly this one medium we're existing with, which maybe is a stacked layer of a larger thing. But I'm thinking the first way we do this in our first iteration is just see how many people are out there. Or one idea we had is simply everyone commenting, one emoji onto, an image that we maybe put in the chat or something, or something along those lines. What do you think, Chris?
I think it might be good to go outside. We don't want it to be incestuous. I think it would be better to pick somebody's video and all comment on that. Just in my view.
What was the animation you were speaking about? The one the soup.
It is called "End of an Era" by Umami. 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 Yeah, maybe comment. But then it's tough because I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm sure some of you will not be able to spell memetic reproduction. Meme versus gene. Meme versus GENE. Gene, like genetic. Meme versus gene. That might be a fun thing to comment. Yes, TG Peacecraft. We are weaving a beautiful tapestry.
Okay. Do you want to can you pin comments?
I have no idea.
Memes are the DNA of the soul.
That's from Metal Gear. It's Metal Gear.
Yeah. Isn't that I mean that's the sentiment at least of like the initiation of memetics. I think my part of my fascination with it is like I have existed within the academic world to some extent, not in any meaningful capacity, but I go way out of my way to speak to as many professors as possible and kind of ask about weird internet things just to poll if they're cognizant of some of these lines of discourse that are occurring that I think are compelling at the very least. And I have received so much negative feedback about memetics, and it's such a like common thing in r/bad linguistics, r/bad philosophy to just like absolutely bash the shit out of Richard Dawkins and be like, this moron thinking he can try to transcend our disciplines. You think you can question?
I think the thing is that like we are literally Dr. Undergrad. Like this, like I don't know if do you know the meme Dr. Undergrad? We are literally the fucking Dr. Undergrad podcast. But because we are high on our own fumes, because we believe, because we will it, we will create the fucking field. It's that easy. Every field was created by people who went against the prevailing idea. But also, if you're a careful watcher of the channel, you will notice I never, ever talk about Dawkins because I am not reading memes through Dawkins other than the word. I am utilizing Burroughs, who is the true father of memetics, and Jung, who is the true grandfather of memetics. Dawkins is a pretender.
Pretenders get attention. That's why I say memetics is I think it's like ripe for the taking, the word choice. But no, that's such a like apt way to describe. That's really like the condition of the influencer at the moment. I think is you are getting high on your own fumes, and you need to like will whatever that like what it is you claim to represent into existence.
But the quick MI asked, who is the father of memetics? William S. Burroughs. William S. Burroughs. But no, influencers who are not willing to take the step out into reality to will their reality are going to fail. And quite simply, that is why we need our fucking occult hype house, so that we can begin to will the correct things into existence.
I have you seen Neon what's that fucking show that everyone loves? Evangelon, Neon Angel Evangelon, or
No,
Neon
no, no!
Genesis?
Don't tell me. I don't want any spoilers.
I honestly haven't even seen all of it. There's just a character in there that I have only seen in a few episodes, but I base my entire existence off of post. There's this dude who's he works for he's
Don't
kind
tell me.
of
I don't even know anything about it.
all right.
Don't tell
We
me.
won't talk about it.
Oh my god. Also, just quickly, somebody said memes have existed since humanity has. Yes, and even before that. Language in the form of memetics, in the form of behavior, is something that's how it is the form of life. I was shown a really fascinating guy, Rupert Sheldrake, who theorized about morphic resonance, which is this idea that like a monkey that learns to wash his fruit in Madagascar, a monkey in India at the same exact time will learn to wash their fruit simply because the meme traveled psychically, because it's the morphic sphere. So that's very important. A very loosely connected community you're fostering here, are we? I don't know. I don't know if I've done much to foster a community outside of the phrase memes matter and outside of these. What were the first kinds of memes of humanity? Standing upright.
I'd say clapping. Clapping is one of my favorite memes. I think that's a really good one.
Clapping was a good one.
Anything
wait, Americans are the biggest clappers. Americans clap when you land the airplane. Americans clap at the end of the movies. I clap at the movies all the time. I'm a big believer in clapping. We should bring back clapping, actually.
This is and maybe this will poke a hole in like the anti-US pop Reddit narrative. Is I lived in the Middle East growing up, and they clap at movies sometimes over there as well. So this is a meme that is contagious, and it's certainly it's a good one. Honestly, I really like that one.
Also, just a quick thing. Let's see. What if memes are inevitable? Every meme was a destiny we arrived at as humanity. Certainly, I think memes are this is the point that Burroughs makes, is that memes are the true drives, the true invisible hands behind the development of humanity, for the purpose of power, gaining, suffering. And then somebody had said, motherfucker, there was one I wanted to talk about. Oh, collective unconscious is tied to memetics. That is the thesis of the channel. Memes are symbols. Memes are archetypes, which is to say that archetypes and symbols function memetically. Memes are just, in fact, what Dawkins was criticized for was creating the word meme for something that archetype already explained.
And maybe my reading of what the word definition of the word means it differs in this sense, because I feel his error was like it was an indiscriminate unit, and in the way that like a gene is something actually physical in a sense, at least. I mean, it's simultaneously a concept as it is part of fucking like what is that little spinal thing. The issue with the fucking meme was like when you call something a unit of culture and give no like mode to distinguish what composes like larger and smaller memes, it makes it really complicated to like have people base that like empirically base things off of. But it is a compelling concept. It's just like it is very, very similar to so much of the notions of like these symbols that repeat, so i.e. archetypes or religious iconography maybe.
And that's why I think the use of archetype it's almost like they're trying to revert it down to what Dawkins had done. They don't want to accept the size of an archetype, how immense, how vast, how utterly vast it is. They really despise the cosmic horror of the existence of archetypes. If we in fact have ideas, impersonal, inhuman symbols, ideas, and patterns of energy that are the very thing that manufacture and drive all human behavior, have determined it all, what then? Of course, they are also present in ridiculous, silly animal pictures. But what really matters, what aspect of memes that matter, is what those animal pictures are depicting, which is horrific gods, in the same way that cave paintings are depicting an immense reality. In fact, when people talk about cave paintings depicting something that happened or something that was happening, that's a really bizarre way of putting this is what we have always done. They might be depicting a legend that's 1,000 years old to them, these cave painters. It's very odd to say well, they were just looking at it happening and then drawing it. They might have been depicting God, depicting the creation myth and such.
It feels yeah, no, I don't know. What's the Enlightenment was a mistake. We need to take away the notion of truth and knowing. We need to strip our arrogant suppositions about the enlightened. I think everything before Jesus was just we were all levitating around. We were making pyramids with our hands.
Well, no, that's literally the thing, though. Have you watched Life of Brian?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, the point where it's oh, these Romans, it's they're terrible. It's well, what about the roads? What about medicine? What about all this shit? And that's the fact. And then when Rome fell and Christianity took over, we lost everything. But a quick thing that I will say, somebody asked the most potent question, or rather, this is the question that I agree with. This is the idea that I agree with. Do you reckon AI, once self-conscious, could retain an anima? That is what AI is. AI is a projected anima. A point that I make that I think is one of the most important is that AI that is meant to be an artificial intelligence and not an artificial intelligence with a purpose. But when people try to develop an AI that is human, it is always going to be a woman. Men, in fact, the idea of male, outside of just having a penis, is the idea of a phallic being. So Hal is a masculine AI because he exists to pilot the ship. He is a personality, but not really. He is not a self. He does not have a self. He exists to pilot the ship in 2001. But Cortana, Shodan, I'm sure there's others, but I don't really play much. But these feminine AI always are full, complete personalities with their own ideas, their own desires. It is not a mere malfunction that causes these feminine AIs to do. Oh yeah, Alexa is the great point. Tay, who got canned by Microsoft. But Nick Land associating AI with the feminine is an astoundingly accurate idea. I highly doubt he is watching, but I know he is aware of the channel. So shout out to Nick if you are out there. Siri, another good one. I agree, Gaben. You're right. I'm being unfair to the monks who did in fact preserve knowledge. But what I am saying is that Christianity's dulling of the populace through a lack of education for others, because in Rome, the majority of citizens were well educated. So Christianity being a slave religion, of course, did inspire a caste of monks. But the other problem is that this is where Christianity really splits from Judaism, and why the majority of Christians are dumb and the majority of Jews are smart is because Jewish rabbis can have wives. they can reproduce, and they were relatively pro-sex. So Christianity says, priests cannot have wives, they cannot have children, which is to say, we will not educate, we will not have more and more educated children. We will not have a genetically reproducing intelligence, which I think is very dangerous, because many people who would have been very active, intelligent people, had they been educated, rather became peasants and remained peasants, while only those who had an aptitude to be priests would become priests. So I really do think that that is the problem in terms of medieval times. The Holy Spirit is an anima. Young disagrees, Art Fluids. Young finds that the fourth part of the Trinity is female, but the Holy Trinity is solely masculine. The fourth part is Sophia, the feminine part of God. Oh, we've reached 1 hour, so it has been very good. This was a good one. We're going to do this in 2 days. So if you have any questions lingering, message us then. Also, I don't have the same problems with Orthodoxy that I have with Catholicism. And Orthodoxy, again, the fall of the Holy Roman Empire is a whole different situation, blah, blah, blah. Okay, it's been good. All right.
One last note in the sense of comment, was it memes versus genes or memes? Yeah.
I think memes versus genes.
All right. Comment that. I'm curious to see how this pans. Project.
Where? Just commented. On umami. Okay. Yeah. I will, and I'll put this instruction on the community post. But comment on Umami's video, End of an Era, memes versus genes. All right, it's been good. So long. See y'all in another day.